It's 6:30 on the dot. Good evening and welcome to Prime TV News. I'm Shamila Kuntilaka. Let's first take a look at the headlines tonight. The president says that forest density has increased due to the program conducted during the last 4 years. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna wins 17 seats of the Alpitiya Pradeshiya Sabha. Presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa says that he is prepared to implement the death penalty for major drug racketeers. Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa says that those who are afraid of democracy are postponing elections. Presidential candidate Anura Kumara Disanayaka says that powerful countries give their support to the pawns of those countries. The strike launched by the non-academic staff of the university is called off. The most powerful storm to hit Japan in 60 years, Typhoon Hagibis, caused floods and damages houses. We shall get to the situation in Japan in a few moments, but first the local news first. President Maithripala Sirisena says that the forest density in the country has increased due to the program conducted during the last 4 years. The president said this while attending the Vanaropa National Tree Planting Program at the Galloya Reserve. The National Tree Planting Program commenced today at Habarana Galloya Reserve under the patronage of the President. This program is implemented annually in October to coincide with the Punarudaya National Environmental Conservation Program, which is implemented since 2015 under the direction of the Presidential Secretariat. It is being implemented jointly by the Ministry of Mahaveli Development and Environment, Forest Conservation Department, public institutions and non-governmental organizations. The program is implemented to increase the forest cover to 32% of the country by 2030, according to the UN Climate Change Charter. President Maithripala Sirisena planted a sapling at the forest reserve to mark the launching of the tree planting month. The president signed the gazette, making the Galloya Reserve as a forest reserve, which is situated next to the Colombo-Trincomalee Highway at Habarana in the Polonnaruwa district. Speaking on the occasion, the president said that politicians have played a leadership role to destroy natural resources in the country during the last 50 years, together with racketeers and officials. Therefore, the president said that this program was launched to increase the forest density in the country. The president said that everybody belongs to the earth. The counting of votes at the Alpitiya Pradeshiya Sabha election concluded successfully yesterday. However, the chairman of the Elections Commission left the place without signing the official election result document, as a private channel has announced the result before the Elections Commission chairman signed the official result. According to the official results of the Alpitiya Pradeshiya Sabha election, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna obtained 17 seats by polling 23,372 votes. The United National Party obtained 7 seats by polling 10,113 votes. The United People's Freedom Alliance obtained 3 seats by getting 5,273 votes. The Janta Vimukti Peramuna polled 2,435 votes and received 2 seats. The Alpitiya Pradeshiya Sabha election could not be held due to the problem related to nominations earlier. The election was held yesterday according to a judgment given by the Supreme Court in connection with the nominations. The polling took place at 47 centres for the Alpitiya Pradeshiya Sabha. 53,385 voters have been registered for the election. Maximum security was in operation for the election. Counting of votes took place at the centres itself after the conclusion of polling at 4 p.m. Chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, as well as election monitors were present to monitor the voting process. The voting took place without any violent incidents. 106 complaints have been received by the National Election Complaints Management Centre and the District Election Complaints Management Centre during the past 24 hours in connection with the Alpitiya Pradeshiya Sabha election. The National Elections Complaint Management Centre has received 4 complaints. It has received a total of 53 complaints, including 45 complaints related to election law violations and 4 other complaints. The District Election Complaints Management Centre has received 53 complaints related to violating election laws. Accordingly, a total of 106 complaints have been received by them. The total number of complaints reported from the 8th to the 11th of this month is 375. The PAFREL organisation said that the election for the LPTA Pradeshia Sabha election was conducted peacefully. The PAFREL organisation said that the election for the LPTA Pradeshia Sabha was conducted peacefully. The organisation said that considerable conflict situation was not reported during election propaganda activities and it should be commended. Presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa says that he is prepared to implement the death penalty for major drug racketeers through an independent and transparent judicial process. He was replying to a woman at a meeting with an intellectual women's association.
Proliferation of drug usage is one of the main challenges our society faces. What I have observed is when the major culprits are brought to book and they are given prison sentences, what happens is the business that was conducted outdoors keep on flourishing indoors in the 4 walls of the prison. So what I'm trying to elaborate is the drug trade and the drug business does not stop, keeps getting multiplied. Women and children in our society have to be given protection. If the present system of justice is incapable of preventing the drug lords from conducting their businesses, there has to be a change in the administration of justice. In other words, I would not hesitate to activate the death penalty against the major drug business personnel. Now, having said that, I for one do not believe in taking lives. I think lives are sacred and we have to protect lives. So when I say that as a last resort, if all other avenues and measures that are exhausted in trying to address this problem do not achieve its particular task, I would have no hesitation in implementing the death penalty. However, we also have to ensure that the judicial processes that are in place, the administration of justice, has to be transparent, fair, free from any interference. For example, if we have an occasion where 2 parties, because of their personal enmities, and if one party plants a certain amount of drugs in the other person's house or vehicle or whatever, if type of manipulation takes place, and when it comes to adjudication, the victim of such an operation should not be sent to the gallows. So what I'm trying to say, procedure through which you administer justice has to be transparent, fair, and free from interference. So on those conditions, I have to say I agree with the death penalty as a last course of action. In all, I have to tell you, we have to eradicate the drug menace in order to protect the children, especially school-going children, and the mothers in our society. And we shall strive to do the maximum possible steps in order to eradicate this humongous problem that faces our society.
A dialogue took place in Colombo on preparing policies on women in the manifestos of presidential candidates. A group of people, including Ministers Chandrani Bandara, Harsha De Silva, Eran Vikramaratne, Deputy Minister Anoma Gamage, Mayor of Colombo Rosi Senanayaka, Mrs. Hema Premadasa and Mrs. Jalni Premadasa were present on the occasion. Meanwhile, presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa mentioned several details about the rights and opportunities that should be made available to women while attending Meet the Candidate program organized by the Sri Lanka America Chamber of Commerce.
How have you thought about a problem of women in this country? And
here again, in terms of protecting the rights of women, I think the protection of multifarious rights that you just mentioned has to be institutionalized. As with the children of our country, we hope to establish a women's charter. I totally agree that the rights and the privileges of women in our society has to be protected. Public transport, security, free from gender-based violence, discrimination. In order to do so, it should be conducted in a regular manner. So we will have a system and a structure to ensure that these areas, and we will pay special attention to this valuable sector in our society.
Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa says that those who are afraid of democracy are postponing elections. He was speaking at a public rally at Vilgoda in Kurunegala. The opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa said that they postponed all the elections and questioned whether it's democratic to postpone elections. He said that they are afraid of democracy, but during their time, they held elections on time, which is the fundamental characteristic of democracy. The opposition leader said that they protected democracy by conducting Pradeshia Sabha and provincial council elections. He said that they have a group of people who can work and build the country. He further said that they have put forward a person who can develop the country and requested them to join, as this could be the final time. A large number of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna activists of the Kurunegala district were present at the meeting. They were briefed on the way to act at the forthcoming presidential election. Presidential candidate of the National People's Party, Anura Kumara Disanayake, says that powerful countries give their support to the pawns of those countries to make them leaders of poor countries. He mentioned this during a summit of Buddhist monks in Kandy. Anura Kumara Disanayake said that political parties in the country are being handled by the Indian High Commission and the US Embassy. He said that many said that the citizenship of Mr. Gotabaya will not be withdrawn by the United States, which is not true. He questioned how much the US would be happy when an American becomes a president of another country. Mr. Disanayake said that the US is allowing that to create political leaders who can implement their agendas. Therefore, he said that the country has lost political independence as well. He said that they always endangered the country. The strike launched by the non-academic staff of the universities was called off. The trade union representative said that non-academic staff members will report for duty from Monday. The chairman of the Inter-University Jatika Sevaka Sangamaya, Pradeep Pushpakumara, said that all their trade unions decided to call off the strike as they were promised that their problems would be solved within 1 month. He said that they will report for duty on Monday after signing the agreement with the ministry secretary today. Still on local news tonight, Executive Director of the PAFREL organization, Rohan Hettiarachchi, says that their organization will deploy 6,000 election monitors covering all electoral divisions at the forthcoming presidential election. Executive Director of the PAFREL, Rohan Hettiarachchi, said that they have organized to monitor the presidential election under 3 stages. He said that they are doing so under the pre-election stage, during the election and the post-election period. He said that they have already deployed a team to monitor the pre-election time. Another 2 teams will be deployed within the next few days. He added that they have planned to deploy 5,000 to 6,000 election monitors covering the election time and the postal voting period. Deputy Registrar of the Asgiriya chapter, Venerable Narampanave Ananda Thero, says that everyone should refrain from violent activities during the election period, irrespective of their political ideologies. Deputy Registrar of the Asgiriya chapter, Venerable Narampanave Ananda Thero, said that all those who are engaged in political activities should do so peacefully without misusing public property and causing hardships to the people. He said that it will be a successful election if they follow Buddhist principles of compassion and non-hatred and engaged in their election campaigns. A memorandum of understanding has been signed by the Ministry of Education and the National Savings Bank to improve the English knowledge of school students and to encourage them to follow good health habits. The English is Simple and I Am Fit project will be implemented under the Memorandum of Understanding signed at the Education Ministry. Plans have been drawn up to provide many practical experiences to the students under the project. The English unit is in charge of the English Language Development Project on behalf of the Ministry of Education, and the Nutrition and Health branch of the Ministry of Education is in charge of the Health Development Project. Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Nihal Ranasinghe, and Senior General Manager of the National Savings Bank, Kitsiri Vijayaratne, were present on the occasion. The engineer in charge of the Castlereagh Reservoir said that spilling over of the reservoir has commenced. The Electricity Board said that the Castlereagh Reservoir is spilling over after about 1 year. With the spilling over of the Castlereagh Reservoir, the Vimala Surendra Reservoir, which is below the Castlereagh Reservoir, has also commenced spilling over. Engineers in charge of the power plants say that the water level of the Kalani River has increased due to the spilling over of the reservoirs. Meanwhile, the Mausakale Reservoir has also reached the spill level. That concludes our news bulletin for tonight. Prime TV News will return tomorrow. And in the meantime, you can log on to www.itnnews.lk for further information. I'm Chamila Gundilaka signing out. Good night.